Right guys and girls, Mark Crossfield here, talking today the main reasons why you're struggling to draw the ball. So that's a nice little draw up the 18th here at Pebble. Beats it out to the right, coming back to the left, just missing on the left side, but I'll take it in my variant shot pattern. How was I able to hit a draw? Why do so many golfers who desire to hit that shot shape struggle? We're going to talk about the main reasons in that today. In the comments down below, is this something you've struggled with? Have you practiced hitting draws and you just find it really hard to hit them? You always get your fade and you can't get away from it? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, let me know in those comments down below if you did succeed in getting more of a draw worked into your game. How did you do it? What did you do? Post in those comments down below. Now, if you're not subscribed to this channel already, give it a subscribe. Loads of free videos coming weekly. And also remember, hit the thumbs up button, people. You're getting a bit lazy with that. For me, hit the thumbs up button. YouTube likes it. So let's break down the draw just a fraction here. My club path was in to out. So from the inside to the outside, 1 degree, and the face was closed to that path, 0.3. Is what's allowing me to shape the ball with a spin axis spinning 7 left. Draw, spin. And remember, where you strike the ball on the face, so the more towards the toe, general rule of pattern, draws more towards the heel, so the right side of this dotted line here tends to be more fades. That has to be worked in. So we're trying to get the club path to go what is known as from in to out, so from your side to the far side of the ball. Obviously, we're talking 1 degree, they're tiny amounts. This is an exaggerated version, but that's the feeling you can have. And then in turn, I'm trying to get the face close to that path. Let's just be clear with that. So a good draw, a functional draw, if I try and hit another one here, it's trying to come back, it is. Look where it's starting. It's starting out to the right side of that line. It's not starting straight and turning left, it's starting right. For that to happen, my face has to be pointing right at the beginning or at impact. So impact, it has to be right of the 0 line, so what people call as open. But we need the path further right of however open that face is to that 0. If that makes sense, let me know down there in those comments. The reason that's important is because the main reason people struggle to hit draws that I see day in, day out on ranges, when I used to walk ranges as a golf coach and what have you, is that they're so fixated on path, so the direction the club is traveling on, and they just hope the face will work, that they get into a real mess. Let me show you what I mean. So if I take the club face here and I turn it to the left, so I'm going to take all the loft off, point it down and to the left. So I'm turning it around the axis of the shaft, hold it with the club face that way. If I now hit from out to in, so your general kind of slicers hit, so from the right side to the left side, look at the shot. It's completely unfunctional, low, massive left. It just doesn't work. And then vice versa, if I turn the face now to point high to the right, so add loft, turn it around the axis of the shaft this way, open as people know it, adding loft, and now I try and hit from the inside, so I'm trying to fix my club path to hit more from in to out to hit my draw. What happens is we get an equally ridiculously unfunctional shot, high and way off to the right. The face, not marrying to the path, coordinating to it, is going to cause horrendous misses. So trying to fix club path, you see people on the range swinging really around, trying to just push everything to the right without understanding where the face is as it moves around your body, is one of the killer reasons why people struggle to beat hitting their cuts, fades and their shots off to the right. So first thing we got to get a grip of and an understanding of is where the face is as it spins around your body. So down there in the comments below, I want you to answer these questions and I want you to, well, let's see how you go. Just answer these questions. I'm going to give you a couple of points of where the face is. I want you to tell me if it's open or closed. So is it relating more to the left low shot or the high right shot? So remember, loft's in there as well. I'm going to call it open and closed for the purpose of this video, but really it's adding and taking loft off as well, which is something we'll come to maybe again in another video. So setup, I'm going to point my club face pretty straight, just for argument's sake. First parallel, club turned down to the ground here, so you can see the face here is turned down to the ground. Comments down below, is that face open or closed? Go on. Thank you. Everyone posted? Great. Now, next position, as I come down in to hit the ball, I'm going to get kind of hands parallel with belly button, and I'm going to just turn the face this way. I want you to tell me, is this face open or closed? Let's pretend the path, we know the path's going to stay at 0. With all these examples, let's just pretend the path is straight. So how is that face? Are we going to know that as open or closed? I don't know if you can see the face there. There you go, put it in the camera a bit more there. Open or closed. And then the third question, that one, open or closed, in that comment section down below. So it's this awareness of where the face is throughout your swing that's really going to allow you to move the path, trigger different club paths without really having to think of them that hard. So even though you might be able to answer those questions correctly while watching me do it as an onlooker, the bigger question for you is, can you feel those different positions as the club is spinning around your body? If you can't, you need to start learning how to feel those positions. Best way of doing that. So to move the face, I'm using my wrist angle. So just to give you your checkpoints to your answers. First one, face down to the ground. Most people would know that as closed. I would call it more de-lofted, but again, that's another video. And then as we come down in to hit the ball, the more I turn that face, so the lead hand here away from me to face more around to the camera, closed, the more I extend this wrist, the more that face generally is going to be open to a path, creating that high right shot. So the best way for you to start shifting club path is to start shifting face. The more you can swing at the ball and do all of those wrist angles, the better you'll be at finding one that's functional for you. So I'm going to do a few backswings here where I really hood the face down. As I get to the top of my backswing, I'm going to feel like I'm turning my lead wrist up to the sky. As I start the downswing, I'm going to feel like I'm turning that lead wrist down, turning the face down to the ground. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit a few shots. Now, if that creates a low hooking shot, I'm going to think, great, I've done it. I've really worked my wrist. This gives me every right now to start feeling like hitting out to the right, hitting more from the inside. And I can use that amount of wrist. So I'm going to aim right. I'm going to try and swing right. I'm going to turn the face down to the ground in first parallels to keep that momentum going throughout the whole swing. Call it slightly necky, but you see it curving back. Now this isn't a desired shot, it's low, because remember I'm taking loft off. But you get someone who struggles with fades to start hitting just that shape of shot, just those overturns, those big hooks with their wrist angles. And you make them aware that they're doing that. It's not luck. They're really manipulating how they deliver that club. Path and face. Last one, path 9 into out, nearly 10 into out. Face nearly 4 close to that path. Spin axis now, 24 left. Huge draw. It says draw, it's more of a hook. For people who have struggled with cutting it all their lives, that is absolutely empowering. Trying to get them to understand how their wrist angles work in relationship to the shot shapes they hit, and giving them the permission. So giving them that permission to experiment with that is just game-changing for so many amateurs. And the best thing you can do to practice this is to practice it wrong, right, and wrong both sides. So what I mean by that, the more you can get golfers to break out of feeling like there's an exact perfect way to hit it, it frees them to experiment and finding shapes of shots. So I want you to do some where you turn the face up to the sky and you get the top of your backswing, you extend your wrists. And I want you then just to try and hit some balls, watch the curve. I see that curve and think, wow, hang on. Turn the wrist in a way that felt uncomfortable. I turned the wrist in a way that made me feel like the face was opening to a path, and I curved the ball way off to the right. I've played holes where that shape might help me. I've played holes where I could aim that at the left and curve that round obstacles or funky tee shots with massive dog legs that I want to take on. It's going to be shorter, but it's going to get me round the corner possibly. And then back to the next shot, where you're not trying to hit a perfect position, you're actually trying to get it wrong. Turn it down to the ground, face up to the sky above your head as it comes down into hit the ball. Last parallel here, down to the ground. Hit those shots. Look at the shape, look at that. I mean, I'm not going to use that shot very often, but I can use a variation of that shot. I can do the wrist a little less, and then get a little less curve and a bit more height and aim it to the right like I did on the first one. Playing with your wrist angles and letting path just fall into place is just like light bulb moment for people who have struggled with cuts. Stop trying to think that it's about swinging into out, which is like round here, flat swing planes, those kind of ideas, which people still relate to path. Let me show you why that doesn't work. And this relates to problem number 2. Controlling the face to the path can be done in 3 ways. And I've shown you one way there with the wrist angles. Let's think about the other 2 ways. The wrist angles is like I always class it more as like the electric shock. You know, if you're having a heart attack and you need to be resuscitated, it's like the real shock back into where you should be kind of pushing your face to try and completely change the way you hit the ball. But when you start getting into wanting to really control it, this works, but it maybe isn't as accurate as others, and there's other things that could stop you. Let me give you an idea. I'm going to start with the face pointing low and left, and I'm going to swing around my body, so what people would call a flat path or flat plane, swing plane. I really do struggle with the term swing plane, but flat swing plane, face pointing way left at the beginning. So this is going to be, in theory, way into out, because I'm round here hitting out that way, and the face is going to be close. We're going to hit a low hook, aren't we? Let me see what I can pull off here. I might miss this. So look at that shot. It's a big old cut. That's from what my rounded swing path, which people often relate to into out. This is one of the key issues I see with people trying to hit draws who hit fades. They start getting like ridiculously round here and getting in all kinds of messes because they're relating this angle to club path, and it's not, doesn't have to be connected. So we didn't get the face on the last one because I was at such extreme angles, but my path on that one was 10 out to in, and the face would have been open to the path because we got 20 degrees of spin axis to the right. So face the path, controlling the face. There's 3 ways you can control the face. So I can get the face closing to the path if I have the head going ahead of the handle. So that starts pointing the face more left, doesn't compromise the loft. Handle more forward, starts pointing the face more off to the right. And then I've also got lie, will influence where the face is pointing without actually influencing this angle. Then if you relate that to club path in relationship to what people think is swing plane, I mean, I can literally put the club nearly on the ground here, and I can swing it on the flattest plane ever, look, but I can hit the ball at 0 here, and then as I come to hit the ball further forward, now I've got that path moving left. So I can hit on the flattest plane and hit out to in, no problem. I could equally stand really upright, swing very upright, and still catch that ball slightly on the inside, or I could catch it slightly later on the outside. This angle doesn't have to relate to path at all, and it's the connection between those two for golfers that get them in such a mess. So once you've started playing with your wrist angles and you've got a little bit of understanding of how much this is turning the ball and it still isn't quite going right for you, another great way of getting people to get that face to react more in a closed way to a path is to try and feel that you're letting the head of the club start to catch up with the handle to even overtake a little bit. Because you'll be surprised down at impact, it's not as leady with the handle as people think. The head does catch up, often overtakes. Lead wrist starts going into extension, so starts flicking forwards. If you don't, if you swing with the flattest wrists in the world, but then undo all those wrists with a massive handle lean down at impact, what you're going to find is you can still hit big old cuts. So understanding your wrist angles, understanding where the face is, key to trying to really transform shot shape. Nuances of really trying to dial it in, how much you feel like your handle is forward or letting go. Rule of thumb, generally for faders, the more I tell them from the top of their backswing to let angles go as they flatten their wrist, feel like the head overtakes their hands at the bottom, the more they start drawing it. It's counterintuitive. People think of the words of lag and all that kind of mess, which I've done videos on, and we could do more still, I think, on that, because people still get lost in that idea. The more they get really into these kind of handle-led swings that just encourage the face to stay open to a path, and they never get rid of those big cuts, and then we start seeing them really butchering their swing plane, for want of a better term, to try and help, and that doesn't help because, as you could see from the first one, I can still hit any path when I swing around my knees or up in the air. Right, last things I would like to see you do to try and encourage your draw is I want you just to let your setup encourage it. So, rule of thumb with a driver, these apply to, all these ideas apply for iron as well as driver. Now, ball position will be different with an iron, but the same premise. The further forward I put the ball, so the more, if we think of a playing field with my driver, big toe to 2 inches or 1 inch inside my left heel, that's where I can play my driver from, anywhere in between there. The more I push it towards my big toe, so forward, the more chance I've got of the club hitting more out to in. And then the more I push the driver back towards my back part of my playing field, just inside the left heel, the more chance I've got of pushing that path in to out. To give you an example of that, just stand to a ball with it opposite your right foot. You'll feel which direction the club is travelling on if everything else stays centred to where the ball should be. If you start changing for that, obviously it gets messy, but you're hitting more on the inside part of your swing, the further back, further forward. You're hitting later and the club's starting to return from its furthest point back towards you. So ball position's a great cheap way of encouraging some shape. Remember, with all the other points in there being keys. Next thing I can do is I can aim down the right. So many people who want to hit draws who come from slicing default up the left, which makes sense. If you're fading, you should aim up the left and move it back to make it functional, but it's the same with the draw. You shouldn't be aiming straight hoping you're drawing it. If you're getting any kind of curvature, starting right, curving back, encouraging it out to the right with a little bit of setup up to the right is going to only help you hit more fairways. Next thing you can do as well is let your shoulders try and help. So the more right shoulder falls back, a little bit more tilt in my body. Certainly with a driver, with an iron it would be less, but you can still push the shoulder back with an iron. The more I'm encouraging that path to push out to the right. If I'm someone who's got the ball forwards and I've reached to it, it's a common pattern with slicers. Really encourages this no matter what you're doing with your wrist angle. So little tweaks in your setup, ball position. Making sure you're tilted a little bit behind the ball, aiming up the right are only good patterns to trying to get you to hit draws that might function. Now, I've probably picked the wrong hole here because I have ripped that. Yeah, I have. Look how close I am to the line. Let's just look who I am to the line on that one. So if we take the fact that I've not aimed correctly for this hole on this occasion, you can see I've started it out to the right, drawn it back to the left, and I've hit the ball. If we go to the dry data, so take it off the course here just to give you an idea. It's 288 carry. It's got nice draw spin axis of 6.5 to the left. Everything's in place there for me to hit my draw. All I'm going to need to do is a little bit of hole management. So really on this hole, I have to aim at the green, don't I? So I've aimed the target a little bit more up to the right. I'm going to aim slightly right at that target. I'm going to use my wrist angles just slightly. Ball position is not too far forward. It'll look forward on that camera, but from the angle I'm playing, it's just on the inside of my left heel. Little bit of tilts in my body, and I'm going to put all that together. Let's see if I can draw it. I've slightly towed it, which is overdrawn it back to where I look at it. I just want to destined to get in the rubbish on the left. Let me show you the numbers there, because there's one last thing to really bear in mind with all this ideas of swing. Always remember, if your strike deviates away from a centered pattern, that's going to add spin axis to the ball. That's going to tilt the axis more than anything else. So path was free from the inside, face was one closed. These are perfect numbers for a draw. Just got to strike it, and then we will find that I won't be hooking it offline. We'll be hitting more of the center line. Let me know if this helps. Post comments down below, as always, if you've got questions, and I can try and answer them in other videos. But these are definitely the keys of why I see people just struggling for far too long of not being able to hit a shot shape that they want. The other last thing to remember here is at no point am I saying hitting a draw is going to be better for you than hitting a fade. In fact, from my experience of coaching over the years, for the faders who want to hit the draws, when I get them hitting draws, it's an extra weapon they can use, and I like that they've got the ideas, but they generally don't become more consistent. They might find a fraction more yards, but their deviation, their standard deviation of shots widens. So then the question I ask them is, there's a skill, you can go and use it, let me know how you get on with it. But I'm telling you now, your fade is much tighter dispersion, so that might actually help you score better. But at no point do I think finding other skills in golf is a bad thing. So it's a double-edged sword. If it works for you, is as big of a question of why you can't hit draws. Let me know if this helps. As always, thanks for watching.